Hey everybody, welcome back to the Chaos. Today I'm going to take a look at an independently developed video game based on Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, created by a company called Tactical Adventures, and that game is... As a quick disclaimer, this is an early access game, and I will be reviewing it based on the 2020 Winter Update, which is the most current version of the game at the time of this recording. Before we get into it though, be sure you drop a like, click on that subscribe button, turn on the notification bell so you can catch future videos as they come out. And without further delay, let's get into this chaotic review of Solasta, Crown of the Magister. As usual, I'll start by addressing the good aspects of the game, in this case being the game's mechanics and overall gameplay, because I have never felt like I was playing Dungeons & Dragons in a video game more than when playing Solasta. That's probably because this game sticks as closely as possible to the 5th edition rule set. For example, when you take a long rest, classes which have the ability to prepare spells are able to prepare them right there rather than waiting for a specific point in the game, such as a level up, changing what they have available for that day if necessary. Movement is delegated to square grids, so there's no guesswork involved as far as how far can my party members move before deciding where I want to go, or is that guy in range for an attack or a spell, or can I hit him with this feature or that feature? It's all very cut and dry and right there for you. When an event occurs during which you can use your reaction as a party member, you get a prompt to decide whether you want to use the reaction on X feature, or if you want to pass on the opportunity. You get similar prompts if a character has features available such as Divine Smite, where you have to make a choice to use it or not use it. It doesn't just automatically burn that for you and take away a resource. All of this is fantastic stuff. And since I've already mentioned spells, let's delve deeper into that territory. This game has so many spells available for so many classes. Not only are spells from D&D's open game license available, but there are several homebrew spells available to choose from as well, some of which were literally just added this patch, which, as of the time I'm recording this video, was about 4 days ago. All of these spells offers a massive variety to spellcasting characters, and while I'm on the topic of variety, you can find tons of equipment from D&D in this game as well. Anything from, leather armor to plate armor. I've come across most of the weapons from the 5th edition open game license as well. The devs really pulled out all the stops in this area of the game, and it earns a lot of points for me because of it. Something else the devs put a lot of obvious work into is the playable subclasses in this game. For those who don't know, any unofficial D&D products, meaning those that are not backed and approved by those who own the rights to the game, such as Wizards of the Coast, are limited to a comparatively small amount of official content from the game. This content is referred to as either the SRD, System Reference Document, or the OGL, which is Open Game License. Not every class is available in that material, and only one subclass is available for each of the classes that is listed in that material. And while Solasta doesn't include every possible class at this time, they've made sure to put in multiple subclasses for each of those, thanks to Homebrew. For example, Clerics have 9 subclass options in this game, 1 from the official material, and 8 from Homebrew. Fighters, Paladins, Rangers, and Rogues all have 3 options each, 1 from the official material, and 2 from Homebrew. And Wizards have 3 options for subclasses, and all 3 of them are Homebrew. With the time I've played in this game, I've used several of the Homebrew subclasses, and they're very, very well done. For an early access game, to have this many options available is crazy to me, and I love it. And the fact that they're actively updating things as they go along, and even putting in new spells, for example, it's a really good sign for things to come in the future. Something else I love in Solasta is how simple and easy to use the camera is. A nice, easy right-click and drag method allows you to rotate your camera however you need it to be rotated, and there's a planar camera option in the game as well, which lets you look at different levels on a vertical axis of an area through which the party is adventuring. This is extremely helpful when you're doing puzzles, and speaking of which, the puzzles in this game are amazingly well done. They're challenging. They force you to explore most of a given area, usually, and I never felt like one was beyond my ability to solve, despite the fact that they do take time and you do have to think about things more often than not whenever you're trying to solve them. One particular puzzle in this game utilizes some interesting gravity mechanics, but I'm not going to talk any further about that because I don't want to spoil anything for people who want to play this game. Moving on, something else that's really nice about this game is the option to roll dice to generate ability scores for your character. In fact, the way they do ability scores in this game in general is very nice because it allows you to have a ton of different choices. For example, like I said, you can roll dice for it, but you can also use a standard array, or you can use a point buy system from the 5th edition rules, or if you just want to turn the game on easy mode, for example, you can check this little box in the point buy option to give yourself an unlimited amount of points to buy, and you can put an 18 in every stat. It's a really neat feature to have in the game, though I really don't recommend using it if you're trying to challenge yourself. You can also customize the gear your characters begin play with, just like you can in actual Dungeons & Dragons. You have a choice between different options based on how you want the characters to operate. So if you want to build a fighter who uses a greatsword from level 1, but doesn't have a shield and isn't very good with a bow, you can do that. So you can start the character with a greatsword and some hand axes, and you're good to go. And you can also do the inverse of that. For example, if you want to make a wizard start with a dagger because you're putting points into dexterity and not strength, so you don't want to use the quarterstaff, you can do that, and then you can start him with the dagger. Maybe you want the character to wear leather armor instead of chainmail. Well, do it. It gives the game lots of replay value to have so many options available right in the beginning. Also, if you don't want to build your own character for some reason, you don't have to. They have a full party already pre-generated and ready to play through the game. If you watched my previous video, you know that I think character levels 5 to 10 are the most fun levels in Dungeons & Dragons. This game lets your party get to level 6, so you have access to those awesome mid-game features like the ability to cast Fireball as a wizard, or having 2 attacks per action as a fighter. And when you get to that point, the game gets to a whole other level of fun when it comes to combat. I'm very, very, very glad that they let you get to this point in early access. And I could keep going with good things about the game, but those are the big ones for me, and I really don't want this video to be longer than it has to be, so let's move on. Since I had so much good to say about character creation, let's talk about the other aspect of things. Similar to Baldur's Gate 3, none of these issues are really a deal breaker for me, nor are they really bad, but they do fall flat a little and feel kind of underwhelming. The variety of subclasses is great, but there are only 6 playable classes as of right now, and that did leave me looking for more options. For example, my favorite class in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition is the Warlock, and my second favorite class is the Sorcerer, neither of which are available in the game at this time. I will say that the Sorcerer class is already something the makers of this game have announced is coming, so who knows, maybe they'll even put in all the classes eventually over time. Solasta also suffers from one of the same problems that I had with Baldur's Gate 3's character creation, that being a lack in variety when it comes to face and voice options. There are only around 6 or so faces per race and gender, and there are only around 3 voice options per gender as well. And as with Baldur's Gate 3, that feels a little lackluster. I'm more lenient on Solasta because it is an indie project and the budget's not the same as for a AAA release with a big company behind it. And the rest of the character creation process far and away makes up for these small issues. But I did have to bring attention to these because it wouldn't be fair for me to point this out in Baldur's Gate 3 and then not talk about it in this game as well, being the games are so similar. Another take it or leave it aspect of Solasta is the way travel works when you're not actively doing an adventure. For example, when you travel from a city to some ruins or some other quest objective, you basically leave through the exit spot of the city and it takes you to an overworld map where you click on the desired destination. It gives you some options for how fast you would like to travel and kind of tells you the differences along the way before you confirm. And then once you confirm, there's this little line that forms and it shows your party moving on that line. While that's happening, it shows in the bottom left, your party members are doing things such as playing games of dice or things of that nature. You do run into random encounters while you're out here on the road like that, just like you would if you're playing regular Dungeons & Dragons and you're traveling. And the reason why this kind of falls flat is it doesn't really detract from the gameplay at all. In fact, I would argue that it speeds up the non-essential parts of the gameplay because you don't have to walk through areas that are unimportant to get to the important areas. But the game is honestly pretty good looking. It's a visually appealing game. And for me, I kind of want to see how the world looks as I walk through it, rather than just stare at an overhead view of a world map as I move from place to place. With that said, once you get to the area you have to complete a quest in, you can actually see the environment around you. So it does work out. So let's talk about some things that don't really work out. To kick off my admittedly short list of bad things about this game, the voice acting definitely feels a little forced.
Hope I'm not too late. Ran into a bit of trouble on the way here.
Sit, relax. Perhaps you'd enjoy a pint of this obnoxious ale.
If you're here for the council job, get in line. Though if this Lord Karen doesn't show up soon, I might go looking for him.
Another round, barkeeper. 4 of your finest flagons of donkey-piss, please.
Granted, this is an indie game, but I can only be so lenient with that logic, and as you heard, it's extremely noticeable how low quality some of the voice acting is in this game. I recognize there may have been some budget constraints or something, but I think they could have gotten better voice acting for some of these characters through Fiverr if they had to, or they could have just went to a site like Voice123 to get quality voice acting. And I honestly can't imagine that voice acting would be something that's out of budget in a game where dialogue and interaction means so much. So I can't give them a pass on this just because they're an indie company. Sorry, Tactical Adventures. To go hand in hand with the voice acting, dialogue in this game is kind of hit and miss. Sometimes interactions between characters feel believable, but other times you're just kind of like, that's not how people talk. It can be jarring, especially if you're looking to get immersed into a cutscene or some kind of a dialogue interaction. But here, you don't have to take my word for it. Have some footage.
This beer tastes like donkey piss. Not that I'm complaining. So, what are you waiting for? Spit it out, why don't you?
Are you four here to see Lord Karen?
Well, we're not here to drink ourselves to death.
Well, thank you for making that clear. Well, if you're here for Lord Karen of the Legacy Council, that would be me.
And as you may have noticed by now, based on the footage that I've shown you, character faces in this game are kind of a part of the graphics that don't work out that great. In fact, they're the only aspect of the graphics that I don't like. This game is beautiful, but the faces, they detract from that. I don't know if it's a product of the engine they used or if it's the way they went about putting in face textures, but for me, almost none of the face choices in character creation are particularly appealing for me to use, and many of the NPCs have similarly unflattering faces in this game. I mean, is this a nitpick? Sure. But I kind of had to nitpick if I wanted to find things that are bad for this game, and this is something that bothered me, and because it bothered me and it's not something that I was just like, whatever about, I went ahead and threw it on the list of bad things. And honestly, I actually had a few other things to put here, but the winter update actually fixed some of those things. Like, as I was writing this script, the update came out, and I went and played, and then I had to go back and rewrite this part of the script. So, good on you, Tactical Adventures, for getting in front of things before I could even talk about them. So yeah, that's it for the game review. I think this game is very well done, despite the things that I pointed out as being bad or neutral. I love playing this game. It's a simple, great single-player experience with a solid story and very good pacing. And if you're watching this video to know whether or not you should get this game, I'd say yes. Especially if you're watching it as this video comes out, because it's on Steam sale. If you want a game that's faithful to Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition's rule set, or if you like tactical strategic RPG games, then I'd say you'll probably enjoy this a lot. I even think this is a game that people with no relationship to D&D will enjoy. Most things that aren't amazing about this game are easily waved away when you remember that it's not a AAA title, and, this is still early access. It's not even a full release, and it's as good as it is right now. It's made by like 15 people, and I have legitimately enjoyed playing this game more than some fully released big name titles in the last few years. So I'm gonna slap this one with an 8.5 out of 10. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'm gonna go play more of Solasta right now. Come back next week for a video that's not a review, and if you watched all the way to the end, do me a favor, comment 8.5 down below. Let me know who's really watching this all the way through, and until next time, this is Chaotic Light, signing out.